January, February, March. What to read, what to read. Well, Valentine's Day is in February, which means I should read some romance, I guess. And January requires something cozy and easy reading for the hectic new year. But March, what the heck vibe is March? Hi, hello, welcome in. I'm Jerica and I'm an editor, writer, and all-around content creator, and I'm switching up how I do my TBR videos just a little bit. Instead of monthly, I'm going to be creating quarterly lists with some parameters and a little wiggle room. If you just want to hear about the books, feel free to jump ahead, but first I'm going to talk about how I'm creating those lists and kind of what goes into them. I am going to assume 6-ish books per quarter, because I usually read about 2 books a month. I'm aiming to have 1 to 2 nonfiction books, 1 anthology or collection to peruse, 1 novel over 400 pages, and then just fill out the rest with whatever else is going to go in. I will be trying to hit some of the vibes of the months, like February will have some romance in it, and July will probably be Canadian again. But otherwise, I'd really like to have a variety so that I don't get into a writing slump like I did earlier this year. Or I guess last year. Oh no. It's begun where you call this year last year all the time. I definitely own enough anthologies and collections, but I will have to purchase nonfiction books. And even for fiction, I don't plan on sticking to just what's currently on my shelves because there are a lot of books that have been calling to me for a long time that I have yet to purchase, and I think I deserve to read some of them. You can see a lot of these if you check out my TBR over on Storygraph, but there's definitely others that are just in the back of my mind that I know I want to read. I plan on purchasing at least 1 book for this quarter, which is also for a video series, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, let's get into the books that I plan on reading this quarter for January, February, and March. The nonfiction for the quarter is A Writer's House in Wales by Jan Morris. This is one that I picked up as part of the birthday book haul. I think I picked up 2 or 3 nonfiction, so obviously I have a couple, but this is the one for this quarter. The back, or rather inside cover, reads, journalist, historian, travel writer, novelist, Jan Morris has guided countless readers through faraway places with her keen eye and eloquent turns of phrase. In this intimate and fascinating memoir, she invites us into her own home in the magical heartland of Wales. Wales is a realm unto itself, ancient, unique, and unforgettable. In this craggy country lashed by the Atlantic dwell the last of the original Britons. A people with a colorful history and a language all their own. Long before English was spoken, Welshmen, Cymry in their native language, were composing epics in their lilting Celtic. Morrises have inhabited this far western corner of Britain for centuries, and Trevin Morris, Jan Morris's house between the sea and the mountains, is the 18th century stable block of her former family home nearby. Morris regards this modest building not only as a reflection of herself and her life, but also as epitomizing Wales, which has for centuries defiantly preserved its own identity. In this fluent and welcoming book, she explores the colorful history of the house, that invites us inside for an entertaining and wide-ranging visit that touches on everything from her 8,000-volume library to the mementos and reminiscences of a wanderer's rich life, and the familiar yet intriguing pleasures of a Welsh fireside. Warm and witty, informal and insightful, A Writer's House in Wales is a journey into the very soul of Wales and an esteemed writer's discovery of the profoundest meanings of Welshness. Now, obviously, this TBR is coming out a little late in the first month of the quarter because I let myself take a little break over the holidays. So, where's my bookmark? So, obviously, I've read some of the book already. I don't know if you can see that. We're like 70-80% of the way through, I think. So it's kind of hard to talk about like going into this book. But part of it was just that it felt like an easier read. It's also immediately tackling one of my goals to read more nonfiction this year, because I do really like nonfiction, but I just didn't read a lot last year. I read one memoir last year and that was it. So I would like to read some more nonfiction, and like a couple of different types of nonfiction as well. There's some like about writing and about editing that I would like to read. And then, you know, I'd love to like learn some stuff about something in nature, perhaps. I know that there's one on my list that's about mushrooms. But I guess like what drew me to picking this up was that it was about a writer, and also about a culture that is different from my own, and one that I don't know a lot about. And I feel like it's one of those cultures that, and she talks about this in the book, but I don't want to talk too much about what she talks about in the book. It kind of like feels invisible because it is like just part of like that section of Europe that everybody just kind of like calls England or calls Britain or calls the UK. And so I think people kind of like mistake it for being all one culture. And I think people are more aware of some of the other cultures. Like, I think people are like, oh, like obviously Scottish people have their own culture, and like Ireland. But I don't know, I feel like I don't hear a whole lot about Wales and Welsh culture. So I thought that was an interesting aspect as well. And yeah, again, I don't want to talk about what's in the book. That's for the wrap up later. So the anthology or collection is going to continue to be Christmas Revels. There are 4 more novellas for me to read because I've only read one so far. I am leaning toward The Christmas Cuckoo, which I'll read. It's like one sentence on the back. It says, "The Christmas Cuckoo features a level-headed young woman who goes to the local coaching inn and comes home with the wrong Jack Howard." And so I just think that like the idea of mistaken identity and it being a period piece, both those things kind of draw me to it. And I know that these are all romances, which is something that I'd like to try more of. I actually think that the novella that I read in December was like the first like just a romance that I've ever read. And I think it's important that I try out lots of genres. So I'm excited to try a couple more. I think that's all I got to say about that one. It's not all I have to say about that one. The stories in this have like both a wintry vibe for kind of like the January of it all, but also obviously the romance for the February of it all, which is also winter, and so is March. But anyways, you get it. Books for my shelves to be read will be Women in Love by D.H. Lawrence, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and then I also have The Time Traveler's Wife here kind of as a backup edition depending on how quickly I'm reading or if I DNF something. They're all obviously romances as well, which is the like main reason they were chosen for this quarter. The back of Women in Love reads, "A powerful and engrossing tale of extremes and extremists, Women in Love follows the passionate relationships of 2 sisters, Gudrun and Ursula Brangwyn? I apologize. With their respective lovers, the ominous Gerald Critch and the charismatic but fragile Rupert Birkin. Beginning in a narrow-minded English colliery? Oh my god, this is embarrassing.
Colliery.
Beginning in a narrow-minded English colliery town, and culminating amidst the ice and snow of the Alps. Oh, it's also snowy. The abortive alliance between the 2 men of the couple's affairs are played out against the derangements of industrialism and the need to find new ways of living and better ways of dying. The violence and bitterness of the First World War breach every page of the novel, just as the slaughter of the trenches occupied Lawrence's mind at the time of writing. He considered it the best of my novels, exploring through it his belief that love is the great creative process. No modernist text is more highly changed with the conflict of love and death, or more profoundly unsettling. So this is obviously from my shelves. It is one that I should have read in university and maybe read some of. I don't remember anything about it. I do vaguely remember like talking about it in class, but not nearly enough. I forget where I was going with all of this. Oh, and it's a romance, obviously. So it fits in with the leaning toward romance for the February of it all. But also, apparently, there's snowy Alps, which maybe not necessarily is winter, because there might just be snow on the Alps all the time, especially back during World War One. I'm not really sure. I don't know the climate of the Alps, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yeah, this one's a pick mostly because it's on my shelves and is a romance. We'll see if I enjoy it or not. The classics have not been engaging me very much, like the last couple classics I've read. I don't know if it's a me problem, if it's just like the wrong classics, well, I mean, the two classic horrors I enjoyed, obviously. But like, never mind, there were a couple that I enjoyed. Anyways, that's that one. Moving on to Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. The back reads, Northanger Abbey is a perfectly aimed literary parody that is also a withering satire of the commercial aspects of marriage among the English gentry at the turn of the 19th century. But most of all, it is a story of the initiation into life of its naive but sweetly appealing heroine, Catherine Morland, a willing victim of the contemporary craze for Gothic literature who is determined to see herself as the heroine of a dark and thrilling romance. When she is invited to Northanger Abbey, the grand though forbidding ancestral seat of her suitor, Henry Tilney, she finds herself embroiled in a real drama of misapprehension, mistreatment, and mortification, until common sense and humor, and a crucial clarification of Catherine's financial status, resolve her problems and win her the approval of Henry's formidable father. Written in 1798, but not published until after Austen's death in 1817, Northanger Abbey is characteristically clear-headed and strong and infinitely subtle in its comedy. Again, this was mostly chosen because it's a romance and is already on my shelves, but it being Gothic is interesting to me. That's actually a book that, it reminds me of a book that's on my TBR, that's like a modern Gothic, I guess. Modern Southern Gothic, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do love a good, I don't know what, see, this is what I mean by, like, I don't know when times are, but, like, a good, like, period piece where, we're, like, watching the, like, social rituals that were going on, those things, like, the idea of social rituals and, like, all of the, like, manners and etiquette, I find really interesting. And so that sounds like there's going to be a lot of that going on here. And then also, like, the pushback of it. Like, I love it when, like, we have stories of women, like, pushing back against it, as, like, tropey as that is. I do love those stories. And then we have The Time Traveler's Wife, which is obviously a little different from either of those novels, but is it really? There's time traveling happening, so I'm sure there's some period piece parts. Let's read. I know that they're not in frame, so I look like a crazy person right now. All right, the back of The Time Traveler's Wife reads, when Henry meets Claire, he is 28 and she is 20. Henry has never met Claire before. Claire has known Henry since she was 6. Impossible, but true, because Henry finds himself periodically displaced in time, pulled to moments of emotional gravity from his life, past and future. Henry and Claire's attempts to live normal lives are threatened by a force they can neither prevent nor control, making their passionate love story intensely moving and entirely unforgettable. The Time Traveler's Wife is a story of fate, hope, and belief, and more than that, it's about the power of love to endure beyond the bounds of time. So obviously this is a book that was, like, super popular quite a while ago. I think I've had this on my shelves maybe since before the movie came out, because I'm like 99% sure there's a movie. I'm pretty sure I have this from before the movie, but I might be wrong. But I do remember it being super popular and just like never getting around to it. I worry that I'm not going to enjoy it because I worry that the time jumping is going to get confusing. But if it was so popular, it leads me to believe that it's well done and easy to follow. So you'll certainly get to hear my thoughts on that. It has been taunting me for a very long time, and there are a couple of reasons that I think I haven't picked it up, and one of them is the chonkiness of it. There was a long period of time where I was like really struggling to read at all, and so looking at such a large book was like very daunting, but obviously I've gotten much more back into reading again. I'm enjoying reading again. And this definitely falls into, like a book vibe that I haven't read, really. Now, maybe I'll be burnt out on romances by the time I get to it. We'll see what happens. That is part of the reason why it's on the back burner. It's a daunting size, and it's a different kind of romance, though, so I feel like maybe it's different enough that I'll be excited about it. We'll see. So that's it for the books that I already have, which brings us up to 5 books, which obviously means that I'm missing one. But I did already tell you that I was planning on purchasing at least one book for this quarter, and it's going to be for a new book review series called Okay, Fine, I'll Read ... And so this is basically just going to be me reading books that I know have been very popular on BookTube, Book Talk over the last, like, I don't know, couple of years, we'll say. For this quarter, I do feel like I've chosen a biggie, because it is the first in a series that still gets talked about a lot. So the first video will be, Okay, Fine, I'll Read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I will read you the storygraph blurb, but it's going to be inserted. My computer's very far away, it's plugged in, it will die, so here you go. Just realized I could read it from my phone. Silly me. So it says, perfect for fans of Christian Cashore and George R.R. Martin, this first book in a sexy and action-packed new series is impossible to put down. When 19-year-old huntress Fair kills a wolf in the woods, a beast-like creature arrives to demand retribution for it. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she only knows about from legends, Fair discovers that her captor is not an animal, but Tamlin one, of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled their world. As she dwells on his estate, her feelings for Tamlin transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie and warning she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But an ancient, wicked shadow over the fairyland is growing, and Fair must find a way to stop it, or doom Tamlin and his world forever. This book will be my first foray into the, like, boom of romantasy, and I really don't know what to expect, despite the fact that this book has been very popular and this series has been very popular on BookTube, Book Talk. I've mostly avoided any spoilers or even spoilerless discussions. Boys, I know it's getting maybe close to time, but can we not fight? So I do think it's going to be very interesting. I think something that I didn't know this, but I kind of like didn't think about it until I read that. This will also be like probably the spiciest book I have ever read. So I'll definitely have some thoughts on that, because I don't really know what I like from a spicy book. Because, like, I feel like I see a lot of conversation about, like, what words are okay to use to describe certain things and, like, the difference between, you know, open and closed spice or whatever. Those are new terms to me. But I think, like, my assumption is that it's similar to the way that we talk about doing scenes like that in, like, D&D improv, which is, like, like fade to black versus like playing out the scene, and like how detailed that gets. So I assume that that's like the same sort of thing between like open and closed. Like open is like things are described and closed is fade to black kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how I feel about reading a spicy book. Again, like, only romance that I feel like I've read definitely did not get spicy, like, at all. And so I just, like, haven't experienced a spicy book. So I guess I'm pretty excited to be trying something new. I just have no idea how I'm going to react to it or if I'll enjoy it or not. I do plan on ordering this from a local, so you can probably look forward to a teeny tiny vlog of going to the local bookstore, and I should have my copy soon. There is always a possibility that what books I read during this quarter are going to change or have some additions made. Perhaps things get DNF'd and I have to find other books to add in. That's kind of part of the fun of doing these like longer lists for me, is that wiggle room available. So if you want to kind of keep up with any changes to the TBR rather than waiting for the videos to come out, definitely check out my Instagram and consider signing up for the newsletter as well. I'll probably put little thoughts in there about the books as I read them. Please share with me what you plan on reading this month or this quarter or just this year in the comments down below. And if you have any suggestions for the okay, fine, I'll read series, definitely like let me know about them, because I haven't been a huge book talk booktube watcher up until more recently when I dove into it myself. So I don't know everything that has been super popular. I might not even know what's super popular now, if I'm being completely honest with you. So don't be afraid to throw out the obvious. I hope you guys had fun. I had a blast. Catch you next time. Bye. This is one that I picked up kind of on a whim during that birthday. I'm gonna sneeze. I can't see what's going on over there, and you just shoved your whole head inside my pitcher of water. Hey, Canby. Hey, don't chew on my shit. And now the other cat's gonna drink from my pitcher.